At the restaurant, my sister announced to everyone, "Get out of here, go find another table. This one's for family, not adopted girls." They all laughed and agreed. Then the waiter placed a $2,000 bill in front of me for their entire dinner. I smiled, took a sip, and paid it, but then I heard a voice scream, "Just a moment, please." The reservation was under my name. I'd made it 3 weeks ago when my sister Brooke first mentioned wanting to celebrate our parents' 40th anniversary somewhere special. La Mer wasn't just another upscale restaurant. It was the kind of establishment where senators dined with tech moguls, where proposals happened under crystal chandeliers, where the wine list alone required a sommelier's explanation. I arrived 15 minutes early, wearing the navy dress I'd bought specifically for tonight. The hostess greeted me with the practiced warmth of someone who recognized money when she saw it. She led me to our reserved table, a semi-private alcove that overlooked the harbor. 8 seats arranged around imported Italian marble. Brooke arrived next with her husband Tyler and their twin boys, Mason and Liam. She swept in wearing designer everything, her blonde hair professionally styled, her laugh carrying across the dining room. Our parents followed, Dad in his Sunday suit that he'd owned for 20 years, Mom in a floral dress she'd probably worn to 3 other events this year. "This place is gorgeous," Mom said, settling into her chair. Her eyes held that particular brightness they got when she was trying not to think about price tags. "Only the best for you two," I said, reaching across to squeeze her hand. Dad studied the menu like it was written in another language. In some ways, it was. "What's a bouillabaisse?" "Fish stew," I explained. "But fancy." Tyler laughed, the sound edged with something I couldn't quite identify. "Leave it to our financial analyst to know her French cuisine." "Actually, I just read the description underneath," I said, keeping my tone light. Brooke was texting someone, her thumbs flying across her phone screen. She looked up briefly. "Are Aunt Paula and the Harrisons coming?" "They said they'd be here by 7, I confirmed. The Harrisons were family friends who'd known my parents since college. Thomas and his wife Beverly had basically adopted our entire family into their social circle years ago. Aunt Paula was Mom's younger sister, the one who always brought homemade cookies to every gathering. They arrived together, a flurry of greetings and hugs. Thomas immediately launched into a story about his recent golf game while Beverly complimented the restaurant's decor. Aunt Paula made a beeline for the breadbasket. "This is lovely," Beverly said, adjusting her pearl necklace. "How did you manage to get a reservation here?" "I heard they're booked months in advance." "I have a client who owns part of the restaurant group," I said. "He owed me a favor." Brooke's head snapped up. "A favor? What kind of favor?" "The kind where I saved his company $3 million in tax liability." Tyler whistled. "Nice." The conversation flowed easily for a while. We ordered appetizers, oysters and crab cakes, and something called a deconstructed caprese that looked more like art than food. Wine arrived, a bottle I'd specifically requested from their reserve collection. Dad made a joke about needing a mortgage to afford dinner here, and everyone laughed. I should have seen it coming. The signs were all there, scattered throughout my childhood like breadcrumbs I trained myself to ignore. Family photos where I stood slightly apart from everyone else. Holidays where Brooke received gifts wrapped in expensive paper while mine came in recycled bags. The way relatives would sometimes pause before introducing me, as if remembering something important they needed to add. "So," Thomas said, swirling his wine glass, 40 years. "That's quite an achievement. How did you two meet again?" Mom and Dad exchanged a glance, the kind married couples develop over decades. Dad cleared his throat. "College library. She was studying for a biology exam, and I needed help with my chemistry homework." "You needed someone to do your chemistry homework," Mom corrected, smiling. "Semantics." Brooke's phone buzzed again. She glanced at it, then at Tyler, then at our parents. Something passed between them, some unspoken communication I wasn't privy to. "I have an announcement," Brooke said suddenly. The table quieted. Even the twins, who'd been arguing over the last piece of bread, stopped to look at their mother. Brooke stood, smoothing her dress. "Tyler and I have been talking, and we've decided to buy the lake house." The lake house was a property our parents had owned since before I was born. A modest cabin on 3 acres, nothing fancy, but it held decades of summer memories. They'd been trying to sell it for 2 years, hoping to use the money to supplement their retirement. "That's wonderful," Mom said, though her smile seemed forced. "We hadn't realized you were interested." "Well, we want to keep it in the family," Tyler said. His emphasis on the last word felt deliberate. "Family is important," Beverly agreed, raising her glass. I sipped my water, ice cubes clinking against crystal. Something was building here, a pressure I could feel but couldn't name. Brooke wasn't finished. "We're going to renovate it, turn it into a real vacation home. Maybe rent it out when we're not using it." "That sounds like a solid investment," Thomas said. "It is," Brooke agreed. "And speaking of investments, we've been reviewing Mom and Dad's finances. Helping them prepare for the future." I set down my water glass. "I didn't know you were doing that." "Well, someone needs to," Brooke said, her voice taking on an edge. Someone who actually understands family obligations. The words hung in the air like smoke. Aunt Paula shifted uncomfortably. Perhaps we should order our entrees? But Brooke was on a roll now, her face flushed with wine and something else. Something that had been festering for years, apparently. You know what I find interesting? How you always managed to show up for the fancy dinners, the celebrations. But where were you when Dad had his surgery last year? When Mom needed help clearing out the garage? I was in New York, I said quietly. For work? You know that. Work, Brooke repeated, making the word sound like an accusation. Always work. Always too busy for actual family matters. Tyler touched her arm. Brooke, maybe. She shook him off. No, this needs to be said. We've all been thinking it. I looked around the table. Mom was staring at her plate. Dad was studying the wine label like it contained the secrets of the universe. The Harrisons and Aunt Paula wore expressions of acute discomfort, trapped between wanting to intervene and not wanting to make things worse. What exactly needs to be said? I asked. Brooke's laugh was sharp. You really don't get it, do you? You think because you make good money and wear expensive clothes and know about wine that you're better than us. But at the end of the day, you're still just. She stopped herself, but the unfinished sentence was louder than anything she'd actually said. Still just what? I prompted. Tyler stood now, his hand on Brooke's shoulder. What my wife means is that there's a difference between being part of a family and being around a family. Is that what she means? I looked at Brooke. Or is there something else you want to say? The restaurant hummed around us, other diners engaged in their own conversations, their own dramas. Our waiter approached, then wisely retreated when he saw the tension at our table. Brooke's eyes were bright with tears or anger or both. Fine. You want me to say it? You're adopted. You're not really part of this family. Not in the way that matters. There it was. The thing everyone had always known but never said outright. The truth that had shaped my entire existence without anyone acknowledging it directly. I know I'm adopted, I said calmly. I've always known. Then you should understand, Brooke continued, her voice rising, that when it comes to family decisions, family property, family anything, you don't actually get a vote. You're not blood. Mom made a sound, something between a gasp and a sob. Brooke, stop this. Why? It's true. We've all been tiptoeing around it for years. She's not really our family. She's someone you took in, someone you felt sorry for. But that doesn't make her my sister. The waiter appeared again, drawn by the raised voices despite his better judgment. Is everything all right here? Everything's fine, Tyler said quickly. Just a family discussion. Family, Brooke repeated, looking directly at me. You know what? I don't think you should be sitting here. This table is for family. Real family. Not adopted girls who think they belong. She said it loud enough that several nearby tables turned to look. Brooke, Dad said, his voice tight. That's enough. Is it? Is it really enough? Because I've been holding this in since we were kids, Dad. All these years of pretending that everything was equal, that she was the same as me. But she's not. She never was. I stood up slowly. My hands were steady, my voice calm. You're right. Brooke blinked, surprised. What? You're right. I'm not the same as you. I never will be. I picked up my purse. I think I should go. Wait, Mom said, reaching for me. Please don't, it's fine, I assured her. Really? You all enjoy your dinner. Brooke's smile was triumphant. Good. Finally, some honesty. I nodded to the waiter as I passed him. Could you bring me the check when you have a moment? His confusion was evident. The check? For this table. The entire meal. It's all going on my card. I walked to the hostess stand, my heels clicking against the polished floor. The reservation had been under my name. The credit card on file was mine. The bottle of wine currently being poured at the table? I'd ordered that from their reserve collection for $400. The hostess pulled up the reservation. Will you be settling the bill now, or would you prefer to wait until the end of the meal? End of the meal is fine. Just make sure everything for table 12 goes on my card. She nodded, making a note in her computer. I walked to the bar and ordered a glass of champagne. The bartender was young, probably working here to pay for college. He poured expertly, the bubbles rising in perfect formation. Rough night? He asked. Illuminating night, I corrected. From my seat at the bar, I could see our table. The waiter had returned, taking orders. Brooke was animated now, laughing about something. The tension seemed to have dissipated, replaced by the relief of having said what she wanted to say. Of having put me in my place. I sipped my champagne and waited. The bartender wiped down the counter near me. Been working here 3 years, he said conversationally. You see all kinds of family drama in a place like this. Proposals gone wrong, anniversary fights, inheritance arguments. But that back there? He gestured subtly toward my former table. That was something else. You heard? Hard not to. Your sister has a voice that carries. He paused. For what it's worth, I think you handled it with more class than most people would have. I haven't done anything yet, I said. Exactly. Most people would have caused a scene, thrown a drink, stormed out making sure everyone knew they were the victim. You just left quietly. Takes more strength to do that. I considered his words while watching Brooke select items from the menu. She was pointing at something, probably the most expensive entree. Tyler was nodding, his earlier discomfort seemingly forgotten now that I wasn't there to remind him of it. Can I ask you something? The bartender said. And tell me if I'm overstepping. Go ahead. Are you actually going to pay for their meal? Because if you are, that's either the most generous thing I've ever seen or the most calculated revenge move ever. I smiled into my champagne. Why can't it be both? He laughed. Fair point. Another couple approached the bar, and he moved to take their order. I was left alone with my thoughts and my view of the table where my family celebrated without me. The thing about wealth is that it gives you options. Growing up, my parents had struggled financially. Not desperately, but enough that every purchase required consideration, every vacation involved months of saving. Brooke and I had both gone to state schools on partial scholarships, working part-time jobs to cover what financial aid didn't. But I'd been strategic. I'd chosen finance specifically because I understood numbers, because I saw how money could create freedom or trap people in cycles they couldn't escape. I'd worked brutal hours at my first firm, taken every difficult client, built a reputation for solving problems other analysts couldn't crack. By 30, I was making more than both my parents combined. By 32, I was managing portfolios for clients whose names appeared in Forbes. I'd earned every dollar through exhausting work weeks and countless sacrifices. No one had handed me anything. Yet Brooke had always resented it. She'd chosen teaching, a noble profession that she loved but one that didn't pay well. Tyler worked in sales, pulling decent commissions but nothing spectacular. They had the twins, a mortgage, car payments. They lived paycheck to paycheck with occasional breathing room. I'd offered to help over the years. Quietly, without fanfare. A check here for unexpected medical bills. A contribution there toward the twins' college fund. I'd never mentioned it, never expected gratitude. Family helped family, or so I'd thought. Apparently, I'd been wrong about what family meant. The waiter brought out the first course to my former table. I watched Mom's face light up at whatever was placed in front of her. She'd never eaten at a restaurant like this before tonight. Neither had Dad. This was supposed to be their special evening, a memory they cherish. Brooke had turned it into something else entirely. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This is Beverly Harrison. I got your number from your mother years ago, hope you don't mind me reaching out. What happened tonight was disgraceful. Thomas and I are leaving shortly but wanted you to know we're appalled by your sister's behavior. You are welcome at our home anytime, and we mean that sincerely. I typed back a quick thank you, surprised by how much the message meant to me. Another buzz. This one from Aunt Paula. I'm sitting here watching your sister order a $50 appetizer after what she said to you, and I've never been more disgusted. Your mother is beside herself, but she's trying not to show it. This isn't right, honey. None of this is right. I didn't respond to that one. What was there to say? The bartender returned. Another glass? Please. He poured, then leaned against the counter. So I've been thinking about what you said. About it being both generous and calculated. That's pretty brilliant, actually. They get the meal they wanted, but they'll always know who paid for it. They'll always remember this night, but not in the way they planned. You're perceptive for someone so young, I observed. 24, he said. And I'm working my way through business school, so I appreciate strategy when I see it. This move you're making? It's elegant. It doesn't rely on anger or theatrics. It just is. Sometimes the best responses are the ones that don't look like responses at all. Exactly. He glanced at my former table again. How much do you think their bill is going to run? Conservatively? 1,800? Probably closer to $2,000 if they order the wine I think they're going to order. He whistled softly. And you're just going to pay it? I'm going to do exactly what I said I would do. Honor the reservation I made, pay for the dinner I invited them to, and demonstrate that their words about me not being family don't diminish my commitment to the people I love. Your parents? My parents, I confirmed. This was supposed to be their night. I'm not going to let Brooke ruin that completely. A server approached the bar with a drink order. While the bartender mixed cocktails, I thought about all the little moments that had led to tonight. The birthday parties where Brooke's cake had been larger. The graduation where her achievements had been praised extensively while mine had been mentioned briefly. The holidays where her children received the spotlight while I was asked about work in a tone that suggested they were just being polite. None of it had been malicious, exactly. Just a slow accumulation of small choices that indicated where the priorities lay. Who the real daughter was. Who was just the add-on. The bartender returned. You know what I think? I think your sister is scared of you. That caught me off guard. Scared? Sure. You've got everything she probably wishes she had. Financial security, independence, success. And she can't compete with that, so she falls back on the one thing she thinks gives her an advantage: biology. That's a surprisingly astute observation. Like I said, business school. We study human behavior, motivation, competition. Your sister is trying to win a game you're not even playing. That's why she's attacking you. She knows on any measurable level, you're doing better than her. So she moves the goalposts to something you can't control. I finished my champagne. You're going to do well in business. I hope so. Got about $60,000 in student loans riding on it. $60,000? I pulled out my wallet and handed him my business card. Send me your resume when you graduate. I'm always looking for sharp analysts. His eyes widened. Seriously? I don't make offers I don't mean. He took the card like it was made of gold. Thank you. Really? That's incredibly generous. That's the second time someone's used that word tonight. I'm not sure it applies. It does when it's not expected or owed. He pocketed the card carefully. Unlike what's happening at table 12. I laughed despite myself. Dinner at La Mer wasn't quick. The kitchen here was run by a James Beard Award winner who believed in courses, in pacing, in the art of the meal. Appetizers led to soups, soups to salads, salads to entrees. The Harrisons ordered the lobster thermidor. Tyler got the Wagyu beef. Rook chose the Chilean sea bass. From my perch at the bar, I watched them eat and drink and celebrate. More wine appeared. Dessert menus were distributed. Someone ordered the chocolate soufflé, which required advance notice, and an additional 20 minutes of preparation time. The bartender refilled my champagne. You waiting for someone? Waiting for something, I said. The bill arrived at the table nearly 2 hours after I'd sat down at the bar. I saw the waiter present it with a flourish, the leather folder placed precisely in the center of the table. Tyler reached for it first. I watched him open the folder, watched his expression change from contentment to confusion to alarm. He said something to the waiter, who gestured toward the bar. Toward me? The entire table turned to look. The final bill for 8 people, 3 bottles of premium wine, multiple courses, and various appetizers and desserts came to $2,047.36. Plus suggested gratuity, of course. I raised my champagne glass to them. Tyler was walking over now, the bill folder in his hand. Brooke trailed behind him, her face flushed. There's been a mistake, Tyler said, opening the folder to show me the itemized bill. This total is completely accurate, I finished. I made the reservation. The credit card on file is mine. Everything you ordered tonight went on my tab. But, Brooke sputtered. You can't what? Pay for my family's anniversary dinner? Except I'm not family, remember? I'm just the adopted girl who doesn't belong. Tyler's jaw tightened. This is ridiculous. We didn't ask you to pay for this. You didn't ask me to leave, either. You told me to. You made it very clear that I wasn't welcome at that table. So I left. But the reservation remained under my name. The bill remained my responsibility. The waiter had followed them to the bar, hovering uncertainly. I pulled out my wallet and handed him my American Express Platinum. At 30% gratuity, I told him. The service tonight was excellent. He took the card gratefully, clearly relieved to have this resolved. Thank you, ma'am. I'll be right back with your receipt. You can't do this, Brooke said. Her voice was shaking now. You can't just what? Be generous? Care about mom and dad's anniversary? Want to do something nice? I met her eyes. Or is the problem that I can do it and you can't? Tyler pulled out his own wallet. We'll split it. We'll pay our share. Your share of what? The meal I invited you to? The celebration I planned? I shook my head. The reservation was under my name. I chose this restaurant. I selected the wine. I made this happen. And then your wife decided I didn't belong. The bartender was pretending to polish glasses, but I could tell he was listening to every word. This is manipulation, Brooke hissed. This is you trying to make us look bad? I don't need to make you look like anything. I'm simply paying for the dinner I planned and invited you to. The dinner you told me I shouldn't be at because I'm not really family. The waiter returned with the receipt. I signed it, added my tip, and took my copy. Thank you for dining with us tonight, he said. We hope to see you again soon. I'm sure you will, I assured him. Brooke's hands were clenched into fists. We don't want your money. We don't need you to. Too late, I interrupted. It's paid. Enjoy the rest of your evening. I stood to leave, and that's when I heard it. Just a moment, please. The voice came from behind me. I turned to see a woman approaching, tall and elegant in a burgundy suit. She carried herself with the authority of someone used to being in charge. I'm Catherine Laurent, she said, extending her hand. I own La Mer. We shook hands. Her grip was firm, confident. I wanted to introduce myself, Catherine continued, because your name came up in our reservation system with a special note. You're the financial analyst who helped Richard Callahan with his tax situation, correct? That's correct, I confirmed. Richard has spoken very highly of you. In fact, he called me personally when you made this reservation, asking me to ensure you received our best service. She paused. I understand there was some difficulty at your table this evening? I glanced at Brooke and Tyler. A family matter. Nothing that concerns the restaurant. Nevertheless, I want to assure you that La Mer prides itself on creating exceptional experiences for our guests. All of our guests. Her emphasis was subtle but clear. She'd witnessed at least part of what had happened. Catherine pulled a card from her jacket pocket. This is my personal contact information. I would very much like to invite you back for dinner, as my guest. Bring whoever you'd like. Consider it a thank you for the business you've brought us through, Richard. I took the card. That's very generous. It's good business, she corrected with a smile. And perhaps good karma. I believe in treating people with respect, regardless of their circumstances or history. She shook my hand again, nodded politely to Brooke and Tyler, and walked away. The silence that followed was deafening. Tyler started, then stopped. Gave me a personal invitation, I finished. Yes, she did. Brooke's face had gone pale. You planned this. All of this. I planned a nice anniversary dinner for our parents. You planned the rest. I walked past them, past our table where Mom and Dad and the others were watching with various expressions of shock and confusion. I didn't stop to explain or say goodbye. I simply left. The night air was cool, carrying the salt smell of the harbor. I walked to my car, a Mercedes I'd bought last year after a particularly good bonus. The leather seats welcomed me like an old friend. My phone buzzed before I even started the engine. A text from Mom. Please come back. This isn't right. I typed out a response. I love you both. Happy anniversary. We'll talk soon. Another text came through, this time from Aunt Paula. That was completely uncalled for. I'm so sorry. Then Thomas Harrison. Your sister was out of line. Beverly and I want you to know we don't share those sentiments. I turned off my phone and drove home. My apartment overlooked the city, floor-to-ceiling windows offering a view of lights and movement and life. I kicked off my heels, poured myself a glass of wine, and sat in the dark. The thing about being adopted is that you spend your whole life aware of your otherness. Even in families that never mention it, never make it an issue, you know. You feel it in your bones, this knowledge that you came from somewhere else, that your origin story is different from everyone else's at the dinner table. My parents had always been kind about it. They told me when I was 5, using age-appropriate language about how much they'd wanted me, how special I was. They'd never treated me differently than Brooke, never shown favoritism. But Brooke had. In small ways at first, then larger ones as we got older. The comments about how I looked nothing like anyone else in the family. The questions about my real parents. The suggestions that I should be more grateful, more appreciative of what I'd been given. I'd ignored it all, convinced myself it didn't matter. Family was family, I'd told myself. Biology wasn't everything. Tonight had proven me wrong. Or perhaps it had simply revealed a truth I'd been avoiding. The next morning, I woke to 17 missed calls and 43 text messages. Mom had called 6 times. Dad 3. Aunt Paula twice. The rest were from numbers I didn't recognize, probably other family members who'd heard about the previous evening's drama. I read through the texts over coffee. Mom apologizing. Dad asking me to call. Brooke accusing me of making a scene, of trying to buy people's affection, of being vindictive and petty. Tyler had sent a single message. We need to talk about the lake house situation. I deleted it without responding. There was one text that gave me pause, though. From Beverly Harrison. My dear, what happened last night was appalling. Thomas and I have known your family for decades, and I want you to know that we have never considered you anything other than a full member of it. Blood doesn't make family. Love does. And your parents love you deeply, even if your sister has lost sight of what matters. Call me when you're ready. We should have lunch. I saved that message. My phone rang. This time I answered. You humiliated us, Brooke said without preamble. In front of everyone. In front of the Harrisons. I paid for your dinner. You made us look like freeloaders. Like we couldn't afford our own meal. Could you? I asked. Could you afford a $2,000 dinner at La Mer? Silence. That's what I thought, I continued. You wanted the experience, the prestige, the celebration at an exclusive restaurant. But you didn't want to acknowledge who made it possible. We would have gone somewhere else, Brooke insisted. Somewhere we could afford. Then you should have planned the dinner yourself. You should have made the reservation, chosen the restaurant, arranged the whole thing. But you didn't. You let me do it, and then you decided I didn't deserve to be there for it. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. You want the benefits of having a successful sister without actually having to treat her like a sister. You want my money, my connections, my help with Mom and Dad's finances. But you don't want to sit at the same table as me. That's not fair. Life isn't fair, Brooke. I learned that when I was 5 years old and you told me I didn't count in our pretend family because I wasn't a real sister. Remember that? You were 7, and you said it right in front of Mom. Another silence. I need to go, I said. I have a meeting. I hung up before she could respond. The following week passed in a blur of work and carefully avoided family calls. I let everything go to voicemail, responding only via text to assure everyone I was fine and needed space. On Friday, I received an email from my attorney, William Foster. He'd been handling some minor estate planning for me, nothing major. The subject line read Lake House situation. I opened it with trepidation. I received an interesting call today from Tyler Morrison, your brother-in-law. He informed me that he and your sister Brooke are in the process of purchasing a property from your parents, a lake house I believe you're familiar with. He wanted to know if you planned to contest the sale on any grounds. I told him I'd need to speak with you first before providing any comment. Please call me at your earliest convenience. I called William immediately. I wasn't aware this property was even for sale to family members, William said after we'd exchanged pleasantries. Your parents haven't mentioned it? They mentioned Brooke and Tyler were interested. I didn't realize it had progressed to the point of actual purchase negotiations. According to Tyler, they're planning to close within the month. He seemed very concerned about whether you might have any legal objections. Why would I? That's what I asked him. He was somewhat vague, but he implied there might be family complications. Given our conversation, I'm guessing this relates to your adoption status? I filled William in on the restaurant incident. He was quiet for a long moment. I see. Well, legally speaking, your adoption grants you the same rights as any biological child. If your parents choose to sell property to one child and not offer it to others, that's their prerogative. However, if there are concerns about elder exploitation or undue influence, there's nothing like that, I interrupted. My parents want to help Brooke and Tyler. The lake house needs work they can't afford to do. I understand the logic. But it bothers you. It bothers me that they're buying it for below market value while simultaneously telling me I'm not really family. Ah, William said. That's a different issue entirely. That's not about law. That's about equity and fairness. Which the law doesn't particularly care about. No, he agreed. It doesn't. But perhaps your family should? After hanging up with William, I sat in my office and thought about the lake house. I'd spent every summer there as a child. Brooke and I had learned to swim off the dock, had caught frogs in the shallows, had roasted marshmallows over campfires until we were sick. The house itself wasn't worth much. The land, however, sat on prime waterfront in an area that had been steadily appreciating for years. My parents were selling it to Brooke and Tyler for $60,000. Market value was closer to $200,000. I opened my laptop and started doing research. By Monday morning, I had a plan. I called my parents first. Dad answered. Sweetheart, he said, relief evident in his voice. We've been trying to reach you. I know. I needed some time to process everything. What your sister said was unacceptable. Your mother and I have told her as much. Have you? I kept my voice neutral. Of course we have. You're our daughter. Adoption doesn't change that. It has never changed that. Dad, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me. Always. When you and Mom decided to adopt me, was it because you wanted another child, or because you felt obligated to? The pause that followed told me everything I needed to know. Your mother couldn't have more children after Brooke, Dad said finally. There were complications. We'd always wanted a big family, though. So we pursued adoption. That's not what I asked. Another pause. Longer this time. Your birth mother was your mother's cousin, Dad said quietly. She was 17 when she got pregnant. Her parents wanted her to give you up, to move on with her life. Your mother and I had been trying for another baby for 2 years at that point. It seemed like fate. I felt something cold settle in my chest. So it was obligation. Family obligation. It was love, Dad protested. We loved you from the moment we met you. The circumstances of how you came to us don't change that. Does Brooke know this? About my birth mother being Mom's cousin? Yes, Dad admitted. She found out when she was 17. She'd been going through some old papers in the attic, found the adoption records. And you never thought to tell me? We were going to. We were waiting for the right time. I'm 32 years old, Dad. When exactly was the right time going to present itself? He had no answer for that? I need to go, I said. Tell Mom I love her. I love you both. But I need space right now. Please don't shut us out, Dad said. We're sorry. For all of it. I know you are. I hung up and sat in the silence of my office, staring at the city below. My birth mother had been Mom's cousin. Which meant Mom wasn't just my adoptive mother. She was my first cousin once removed. We were blood relatives after all. Distant, perhaps, but connected. And Brooke had known this since she was 17. She'd known we were actually related by blood, however distantly, and she'd still decided I didn't count. I picked up the phone again and called William. I want you to do something for me, I said. I want you to make an offer on the lake house. I'm not sure I follow. My parents are selling it to Brooke and Tyler for $60,000. I want to offer them $150,000 cash with a closing date in 2 weeks. Your parents might not accept that. They will if I tell them they can stay there whenever they want, free of charge. That they'll have a standing invitation, no questions asked. That I'll handle all maintenance and upkeep. And if they still say no? If they want to keep it in the family, as they understand it? Then I'll know where I stand. But if they say yes, I want you to add one more condition. I want them to use the additional $90,000 to set up a trust fund for my birth mother. Anonymous if she prefers it that way. A gift to help her with whatever she might need. William was quiet. That's remarkably generous, given the circumstances. She was 17 and pressured by her family. She deserves better than what she got. All right, William said. I'll draft the offer. Should I mention that it's coming from you? Not initially. Present it as an interested buyer who learned the property was for sale. Give them 48 hours to decide. If they ask if it's me, be honest. But let's see what they do when they think it's just a financial decision. You're testing them. I'm giving them a choice. There's a difference. The offer went out Tuesday morning. By Wednesday afternoon, I had my answer. My parents called, but they didn't accept immediately. They wanted to meet. We sat in a coffee shop near their house, the three of us around a small table. Mom's hands wrapped around her mug like she needed its warmth. Dad looked older than I remembered, tired lines creasing his forehead. We know the offer came from you, Mom said quietly. William wouldn't confirm it, but we know. I didn't deny it. And? We want to understand why, Dad said. Why you'd offer so much more than Brooke and Tyler when you knew they wanted it. Because it's a good investment. Because the property is worth more than $60,000. Because you deserve fair market value for something you've owned for 40 years. But you knew it would hurt your sister, Mom said. My sister hurt me first. She made it clear I'm not really family. So I'm treating this like business, which is apparently all I'm good for anyway. They were quiet for a long moment. If we accept your offer, Dad said slowly, what happens to our relationship with Brooke? That's between you and Brooke. I'm not trying to damage your relationship with her. I'm simply making a competitive offer on a property that was for sale. Mom's eyes were red. This feels like we're choosing between our daughters. You're not. You're choosing between a below-market offer and a fair one. The fact that your daughters made those offers doesn't change the financial reality. Dad cleared his throat. William mentioned the trust fund. For your birth mother. That's part of my offer, yes. The difference between what Brooke was paying and what I'm offering goes directly to helping someone who sacrificed a lot so I could be here. That's incredibly thoughtful, Mom said, her voice breaking slightly. It's the right thing to do. We sat in silence, drinking coffee that had gone lukewarm. Finally, Dad spoke. We'll accept your offer. Not because of the money, though that will help us significantly. But because you've shown us something today. You've shown us that even when you're hurt, even when you're angry, you think about others. You included your birth mother in this, made sure she'd benefit. That's who you are. That's who we raised you to be. Mom reached across the table and took my hand. We're sorry. For everything. For not telling you sooner about your birth mother. For not standing up to Brooke more firmly over the years. For letting you feel like you had to prove yourself worthy of being our daughter. You never had to prove anything, Dad added. You were always enough. Always. I felt tears threatening but kept my voice steady. I appreciate that. But you should know, Brooke is going to be furious. This is going to cause problems. Let it, Dad said firmly. Some problems need to happen. Some conversations should have happened years ago. We finished our coffee and signed the paperwork William had prepared. My parents accepted the offer officially, knowing exactly who was making it and why. They still didn't know I was the buyer. They called me themselves, Dad on speakerphone with Mom listening in. We wanted to call you personally, Dad began, to let you know that the lake house sale has been finalized. Congratulations, I said carefully. We know you made the offer, Mom said. And we accepted it knowing it was you. We wanted you to understand that. I appreciate your honesty. We also wanted you to know, Dad continued, that we're grateful. For the fair price, for thinking of your birth mother, for handling all of this with such maturity when you had every right to be angry. I was angry, I admitted. I still am, sometimes. But anger doesn't help anyone. No, Mom agreed. It doesn't. We're going to talk to Brooke today, explain our decision. It won't be easy. I don't envy you that conversation. She needs to hear some hard truths, Dad said. We've enabled her behavior for too long. That stops now. We talked for a few more minutes about logistics and closing dates. They thanked me again. I thanked them for raising me. We said our goodbyes with the understanding that healing would take time. After we hung up, I felt lighter somehow. Like a weight I'd been carrying for 32 years had finally been set down. After we hung up, I called William back. They accepted, I said. Let's move forward with the closing. And William? Make sure that trust fund for my birth mother is set up exactly as I specified. Anonymous, substantial, and accessible whenever she needs it. Consider it done. For what it's worth, I think you're handling this with remarkable grace. I'm handling this the only way I know how. By being better than what they expected. The closing happened 2 weeks later. My parents signed the papers at William's office, having already discussed everything with me. The property transferred to a trust I'd set up, one that gave them lifetime use rights while protecting the asset. The trust was structured openly now, with my name clearly attached. No more corporate entities or hidden identities. If anyone asked who owned the lake house, the answer would be simple: I did. The morning after the closing, I woke to find an email from William with photos attached. He'd driven past the lake house over the weekend, curious to see the property in person. The images showed exactly what I remembered: weathered cedar siding, a dock that leaned slightly to the left, morning mist rising off the water. I forwarded the photos to a contractor I'd worked with on another investment property. Within 3 hours, I had an estimate for renovations. New roof, updated electrical, modern plumbing, refinished floors. $28,000 to bring it up to current standards while preserving its rustic charm. I approved the work immediately. My assistant Sarah noticed the paperwork on my desk during our afternoon meeting. New investment property? Something like that. Waterfront looks beautiful. Personal use or rental income? Family use, primarily. With some rental potential down the line. She made notes in her tablet. Want me to set up a property management account for it? Not yet. I'll handle the initial work personally. After Sarah left, I sat looking at those photos for a long time. The house represented more than just real estate value or investment strategy. It was tangible proof of something I'd been trying to articulate my entire life. I belonged. Not because of blood or adoption papers or family trees. But because I'd chosen to belong, had worked to maintain connections even when they were difficult, had invested my time and money and energy into people who sometimes questioned whether I deserved to be invested in. The lake house was mine now, legally and completely. But unlike Brooke, I understood that ownership wasn't about exclusion. It was about stewardship, about preserving something for the people you loved even when they hurt you. I called the contractor directly. I want to add something to the project scope. There's a screen porch on the north side that needs rebuilding. And I want to install a fire pit area down by the water, something big enough for extended family gatherings. He quoted me an additional $8,000. I approved it without hesitation. That evening, I drove past Mom and Dad's house on my way home from work. Their lights were on, Dad's truck in the driveway next to Mom's sedan. I almost stopped, almost went in to tell them everything. But I didn't. Some things needed to unfold in their own time. Instead, I went home and drafted an email to the property management company I'd eventually hire. Guidelines for rental periods, rate structures, maintenance protocols. I specified that certain weeks would be blocked off permanently: the last 2 weeks of July, Thanksgiving week, and the week between Christmas and New Year's. Family time, if my parents wanted it. A notification popped up on my phone. The bartender from La Mer, whose name I'd learned was Kevin, had sent me his resume with a note: not graduating until May, but wanted you to have this in case the offer was serious. Currently maintaining a 3.8 GPA while working 30 hours a week. References available upon request. I forwarded it to Sarah with a note: promising candidate for the junior analyst position. Let's interview him when he graduates. My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered anyway. This is Catherine Laurent from La Mer. I hope I'm not calling too late? Not at all. How can I help you? I wanted to follow up on my offer from last week. The private dinner, as my guest. I've been thinking about what happened that evening, and I'd like to make amends for the discomfort you experienced in my establishment. That's kind, but unnecessary. The situation wasn't the restaurant's fault. Perhaps not, but La Mer prides itself on being a sanctuary from life's difficulties, not a stage for them. I'd like to offer you dinner for 4, any evening you choose, completely complimentary. Bring friends, colleagues, whoever you'd like. I thought about that. Could I bring my parents? Just them, no one else? Of course. That would be lovely. Then I accept. Thank you. After we'd settled on a date 3 weeks out, Catherine asked, may I say something off the record? Please. I've owned restaurants for 23 years. I've seen countless family dynamics play out across my tables. What you did that night, paying for their dinner after how they treated you. That took remarkable character. Most people would have canceled the reservation, left them with a bill they couldn't pay, or caused a scene. You did none of those things. I'm not sure I deserve credit for basic decency. Basic decency would have been walking away and never looking back. You demonstrated grace under pressure. That's different, and far more rare. After hanging up, I sat in the growing darkness of my apartment and thought about grace. About choosing kindness when cruelty would have been easier. About maintaining dignity when everything in you wanted to lash out. My phone buzzed again. This time, a text from a number I recognized but rarely heard from, my birth mother. Your father told me what you did with the trust fund. I don't know what to say. I never expected anything from you, never wanted to complicate your life. But this gift means more than you could possibly know. Thank you doesn't seem adequate, but thank you. I stared at that message for several minutes before responding. You gave me life when you didn't have to. You made an impossible choice at 16 so I could have a chance at something better. This doesn't begin to repay that, but I hope it helps. Her response came quickly. You owe me nothing. But I'm grateful every day that you exist. Your parents sent me updates over the years, photos and report cards. I watched you grow from a distance and felt nothing but pride. I hope someday we might meet properly, if you'd want that. I'd like that very much. We exchanged a few more messages, carefully feeling out the boundaries of this new connection. She told me she lived 2 states away, had married at 28, had 2 other children who didn't know about me yet. She worked as a nurse, loved mystery novels, and had always wondered if I'd gotten her aptitude for mathematics. I was always good with numbers, she wrote. Just never had the opportunity to do anything with it. It's never too late, I typed back. The trust fund includes provisions for education if you want to pursue something. You thought of everything. I tried. Brooke found out the same day the closing finalized, when my parents sat down with her and Tyler to explain their decision. She called me screaming. You bought it. You bought the lake house out from under us. I bought a property that was for sale, I corrected. Your offer was too low. Mine was competitive with market value. This is revenge. This is you punishing us for what happened at the restaurant. This is me making a good investment. The property was appraised at $200,000. I paid $150. That's a bargain. But you knew we wanted it. You knew Mom and Dad were selling it to us. They were selling it to whoever made the best offer. I made the best offer. With money you wouldn't even have if our parents hadn't adopted you. Brooke shrieked. You owe them? You owe us. I owe them love and respect, which I've given them my entire life. I don't owe them my financial future. And I certainly don't owe you anything. This is sick. This whole thing is sick. You're sick. I'm practical. There's a difference. She hung up on me. Tyler called an hour later, his approach more measured. We need to find a resolution here. Brooke is very upset. I'm aware. We had plans for that property. We'd already started talking to contractors about renovations. Plans aren't contracts. You hadn't closed the sale. Someone else made a better offer. That's how real estate works. Someone else being you. Me being someone with the financial means and interest in purchasing waterfront property, yes. What do you want? Tyler asked. Do you want an apology? Do you want us to admit we were wrong at the restaurant? Fine. I'm sorry. Brooke, sorry. We shouldn't have said those things. You're not sorry, I said quietly. You're angry that there are consequences. That's not the same thing. So what, then? You're just going to keep the house? Never let us use it? Mom and Dad can use it whenever they want. They have that in writing. If they choose to invite you, that's their decision. This is cruel. Cruel would be burning the house down so no one could have it. Cruel would be selling it to strangers who bar everyone from the property. I'm preserving a family asset and ensuring our parents benefit from it financially and practically. That's not cruel. That's responsible. Tyler was quiet for a long moment. Brooke was right about you. You do think you're better than us. No, I said. I think I'm smarter than you gave me credit for. There's a difference. I hung up and blocked both their numbers. The texts from other family members started coming in over the next few days. Aunt Paula supported my decision. The Harrisons sent a congratulatory message about my real estate acumen. Some distant cousins I barely knew sent messages ranging from supportive to accusatory. My parents called once more, together again. We know it was you, Mom said. William didn't tell us, but we figured it out. Are you upset? I asked. No, Dad said. We're grateful. And we're ashamed. You don't need to be ashamed. Yes, we do, Mom insisted. We've let Brooke's attitude fester for too long. We've made excuses, told ourselves it would get better with time. But it hasn't. If anything, it's gotten worse. She